Well, good morning. Let me make sure. Okay, my microphone's coming through. Okay. Just want to make sure that was coming in good. Looks like the video's doing good. Hope everybody will jump in here and we'll get this thing started on a Sunday morning. I'm a day behind, aren't I? So if we see if we can get a few in here and get this thing a rolling. Getting a few pop in. Get my refreshment. Ooh. Hey, Ponka, how are you this morning? Yeah. You doing okay out there in Oklahoma? Trying to get things stirring over here in North Carolina. It's a pretty day out here. It's a pretty day out here, and hopefully we'll. My wife and I, she's wanting me to go with her to Home Depot. She's got some more flowers to buy, a few things like that. I hope everybody has a pleasant morning. We've had a lot of tragedy this weekend. That's what I was starting it off with there. It's upsetting to see all these people, getting shot and killed, just going out to some place they thought was normal. I'm getting ready to go to Home Depot. You never know. Somebody might do a shooting at Home Depot. You never know. You never know these days who's going to fly off the handle and do something. Never know what somebody's mindset is that they feel like they can just randomly kill people. I have never understood that. But, we're always going to have people that feel like they can do something like that. It's like I said, it's a little bit. Let me turn this. I'm getting a couple of annoying reflections there. I've got all these lights and computers and everything else putting up stuff. Let me kind of change that around a little bit. I hope the picture's good for everybody. I hope the sound's good. Give me a thumbs up if you can. Yeah, there was the shooting yesterday in El Paso, Texas. It killed 20 people, and then early this morning in Dayton, Ohio, 9 people were killed near a nightclub. I don't think it was actually in the nightclub, but I think it was. I think from what I read and everything, it was on the street somewhere. So that's such a tragic thing to see people do something like that, and I don't understand the mindset. I definitely don't. I'm not a big proponent of guns. I think everybody, should have a right for protection and everything. I don't have a handgun myself. I have a shotgun, and I think I have a rifle. But I used a shotgun to kill varmints and things like that. But I don't. I'm not a big hunter like some people. I mean, nothing wrong with hunting. I mean, we have people that actually hunt on our property. We have some deer and wild turkey and a few things out on the farm that we let people hunt for. And we have to control that. I mean, I realize there's a control mechanism when it comes to population of deer, and we are being overrun with deer and other animals like that. We're actually whoops. If I still got okay, I still have one of my little speakers went out here because I see my microphone's still going good, so I'm fine. But we've got to look at what's going on in society and see if things can't. Yeah, there's real sick people out there, that's for sure. And the thing that bothers me is they're already trying to tie it to the white nationalists. this guy had a manifesto. He told what he liked and what he didn't like. But I don't want that to disparage what's going on in the political atmosphere. And I know the left is going to probably try to use that to their advantage, which is a travesty in itself. If the left comes out there and tries to say, "Oh yeah, that's a Trump follower," and that's what you get with Trump, and it's not. It's not. But I would guarantee that that's what they're going to try to do. Now, this one in Dayton, Ohio, I have no idea. I think that's still under investigation. We don't know what that's all about. I don't know what the shooters killed. So I think he killed 9 people, and they killed the shooter, which is 10 people total, I guess, from what I've read. But things are going to happen. Things are going to crazy things will happen in this world, and a crazy person with a gun is not a good thing, and that's what we see sometimes. I'm not opposed to background checks. I'm not opposed to my old hair sticking up here, showing my bald spots. I'm not opposed to. Just like voter registration and everything else, I think we need to have good background checks. And I think we do need to be able to make sure that who has a right to a firearm is a good person. I have no problems with that. Now, some people don't even want that. Now, I think the more information we have, the better they can assess some things like this and maybe circumvent some situations like that. If you don't have good information, you're at a guessing game. And of course, some people say, well, that's an invasion of privacy there, and we don't want somebody taking I don't want anybody taking guns away. Don't get me wrong. I think, if people want guns, that's good. But let's have the right people have guns. And these people that go out and buy these AK-47s and different guns like that, unless they're a legitimate wild boar hunter, and there are reason to have these kind of guns for wild boars. I've seen some documentation of that, whereas you need an AK-47 with a silencer, even it's what they use, so they can go out and get these wild boars at night. And if you see the night vision guns and everything else, it's a good thing because they can really decimate a farmer's crops and everything. Hey, comfortable man, how are you? But everything has its place, you might say. And if things are used, like say an AK-47, if a person got it and they were able to be proven that they were a licensed hunter that wants to do a certain thing, I'm all for it. We're doing fine. I'm doing fine. Hey, farmer fanatic or Farmall fanatic. That's not farmer, it's Farmall. But as I was saying, farmers in certain locations are decimated with a lot of big wild boars, and we are in a situation where we're overpopulating certain areas of the United States, and we run these animals and livestock and everything else away from their natural habitat. So, what are they going to do? They're going to invade. Excuse me. They're going to invade other areas. They're going to invade, residential areas, and certain animals are going to have to be controlled. Like I said, the deer population is tough. You don't need an AK-47 to shoot a deer, but you do need a long rifle to get a deer. And, but getting back to the hog farming, wild boar, not hog farming, wild boar shooting, you can see some of these wild boar. and they actually need a silencer on some of those guns because once they kill one, the rest of them scatter. I mean, it's amazing. You can go on the internet and look at it. You go on YouTube, and it talks about wild boar, shooting and everything. I've seen some documentaries about it. Pretty interesting. Yeah, and wild boars are dangerous. I mean, people don't. If you've ever raised hogs, I mean, I have. I was raised on a farm when I was young, and that was part of my job before I went to school every day. Slop the hogs, and a big hog is can hurt you. It really can. And let me see what that. Yeah, yeah, they can. A big hog can kill somebody just like that. I mean, it's more dangerous than people realize. I mean, and it was sort of, I was raised in on a farm and everything, and I guess Dad, gave us a trust factor and everything. But I've heard of tragedies where people getting killed with farm animals like that. So you got to be able to be careful. Yeah, the wild boars. I mean, and they are wild. They are mean and they are wild. And we had some pigs that actually got some big pigs that actually got out from our neighbors and came over to my and was rooting in my wife's flower bed. And we called the animal control, and they said they would come out, but we have the right to shoot a pig. And I didn't realize that we have a right to shoot, even if it's somebody's, you know, pot belly pig or whatever. And one of them was like a pot belly pig, and one of them was a great big pig. I mean, a big one. It was. I'd venture to say that thing was 400 or 500 pounds. It was a big one, and they were out there rooting in my wife's flower beds, and we found out. I mean, it was the neighbors. They'd gotten out of their pen and come over our way and saw fresh flowers and fresh grass and this everything, and they were rooting away, and it really upset my wife. And of course, the guy offered to pay for the flowers damaged and everything else like that, but it was actually one of her former students when she was a school teacher. She had actually taught the boy, and he was nice about it, and he admitted it and tried to solve the problem. So we didn't pursue it any further than that. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on people and make them pay money and things like that. I think you irritate your neighbors if you do like that. So I mean, it's bad enough that my wife lost her flowers and everything, but we're not trying to make a big stink about it. But getting back to these others, I mean, I see regulation of some description coming down, and I know the NRA, and I thoroughly believe in the Second Amendment of the right to bear arms, but that doesn't give you the right to kill with those arms. It doesn't give you the right to go out there and do a mass shooting with those arms. And I do think, like I said, these AK-47s and things like that, and unless you can prove a need for that, you need to go through a very thorough background check before you can get that, I think. Now, I mean, really, like I said, I'm not against the back. I mean, it's the same difference. And it irritates me because people are out there saying voter registration is, and if you do good background check on voter registration, that's an infringement on somebody's rights. Well, no, it's not. You have to have it to get a driver's license. Yeah, they check your background and everything on that to get a driver's license. They're not going to let somebody have a driver's license in case they're in another state and they've done crimes or whatever and all kind of DUIs and things like that. So, I mean, I have lived my life going through all kind of checkpoints. I'm drug tested regularly. I have a stricter driver's license because of my CDLs and different things like that. And I'm not opposed to voter registration and gun registration in the right manner. Now, I don't want the registration to impede somebody from being able to purchase if they are a good citizen. Now, I don't want the gun laws so restrictive like New York State, which is too restrictive. They say it'll take you a year or maybe 2 years to get a gun permit in New York City. I mean, they've got it so only select people will be able to get it. And I've heard some nightmares of that. Now, I don't want to see that because I think the average person needs to be able to have a mode of protection and be able to do it easily without being interfered with. But having these things registered is okay. But I don't think the registration and a gun permit, I think it's the permits what's so restrictive. I don't know if it's the registration, but I think the permitting, the carry law in New York State, New York City, and all that's really tough. Uh, and once you get a gun permit to carry and everything, you're registered. They have more documentation on you. So the ones with the gun permit to carry, uh, I think, are more legit people. Yeah, I mean, I know it. You're talking about it's the crazy people holding it, and it's true. I mean, what do you do when you've got that kind of situation? I mean, when you're out, say, if you're out in Oklahoma or if you're out in Kansas and some of these areas that, you go long ways in Texas. And I mean, and I know this happened in Texas, but it happened in a populated area of Texas. Uh, but when you're out in the open, I mean, you got rattlesnakes, you got all kind of different animals that could kill you. So, you need some protection in some of these places. I mean, I know I've driven through Texas before, and I'd often thought, I said, man, if I get stopped out here and I'm having to walk somewhere or something, and get caught, a rattlesnake around you or something, you could get hurt, or a lot of different There's mountain lions in different areas too, and we got bears in this area, so it's tough. Well, I mean, I'm not against registration. I mean, registration will let you know where the person, you know, well, the background check and the registration of the gun goes hand in hand. Uh, and I'm not opposed to that. I don't think they ought to put restrictions where it's so tight that you can't even buy a gun. I mean, that's what some people are wanting. They're wanting to over restrict it so you can't even buy a gun, can't even carry a gun. Uh, but registering a gun is, uh, of course, now you get into some crazy situations. I was reading an article about a man that had his father had passed away, and he just inherited, of course, a couple of handguns. And then this gentleman had been broken into several times, but because he had not registered those guns that he got through inheritance from his dad, he shot and killed some intruders, and then he got arrested by not having those guns registered. Well, you know, I cordially disagree with you on that, comfortable man. I think that the government does have a right to know what guns are registered. And that being said, just like they know how many cars you've got registered. They know where your house. Uh, they know your house. If you're renting or owning a house, it's registered through the state as where the location is. Anything that we do out there is registered and has a paper trail for a lot of things. And the gun part that I don't like, I mean, there are a lot of illegal guns out there. Of course, it doesn't take much to get an illegal gun. And everybody says, if you take away all the guns, and I don't want the guns taken away, don't get me wrong on that. But if you take the guns away, the only ones who are going to have it are the criminals. And I do believe that also, because it's too easy for some of them. Well, the only thing that I look at registration is if you had an AK-47. I think there should be a valid reason why you have an AK-47. If you're a avid hunter, I mean, if you got an AK-47, you ought to have a hunter license to go with it too. I mean, you have to have a license to go out and hunt. And if you've got all these gun collected and you are not hunting, then they could match that up and they go, well, why does this man have all these guns? Does he does not need it for protection at his house? I mean, you don't need an AK-47 to protect yourself at your house. Uh, and and that's true too about the registration. But I'm a big proponent of the police force as far as doing their job right. And if we can give them more tools to do their job right, we maybe can alleviate some of these mass shootings. Maybe. Don't think we can totally. Uh, there's always somebody going to slip through the cracks. I mean, if a person is demented and they are and if they are kind of half whacked anyway, they're going to do whatever they can do to do that misdeed. And that's where I'm coming from on the AK-47s and whatever else there's out there. There's a lot of different. I'm not a big gun person, so I'm gonna sound like a dummy other than the AK-47. Uh, um, but you know the cross referencing of data that the FBI and the police force and everybody else can get, they would have an opportunity to you know maybe narrow it down, and that's what they need. They just need not. I mean, not that they're going to come in and take everybody's guns. I don't want that, and I don't want anything close to that. But if you, I mean, it's like uh, to give you, for instance, in the trucking industry, I'm registered as a owner operator on one of my businesses. Although I use that primarily through my FedEx and use it as my own rental to my own company, and I don't need to do pickup and delivery for other people. But because I am registered that way, a ton of people will be wanting people to move freight, and they will call my office and say, "Can you pick up a load?" So I go, "No, I'm not interested in that." But they just through their or my association as having my own authority, people know that I can do that, and they will assume that I will move their freight, even though I don't need to and don't want to. So that's sort of what I mean through registrations and registrations that are available for things. I mean, everybody knows how every Google and everybody else gets a hold of every piece of information everybody has. But some of this can be valuable if it's done in the proper fashion. That's the key. Can we have it done in the proper fashion? But what we've got now is the tipping point right now is you're going to have all the crazies on the left demanding that all this stops. Well, that's not going to happen, you know. Uh, but if there is a database with a lot of information about people that are legit and legally own guns and different things like that, I don't think that would be misused. But if there's a way these and you hear it and you read it, and every time there's a mass shooting, they always pull out the psychologists and the profilers and all these other people that will tell you this is the type person that will cause this. Well, if you register these guns, and if it's required to register all these different guns, then you will eliminate part of that process right there by saying, okay, this person, uh, okay, hey, Chris, I just see you jump in there. Oh, you just lost your DOT number? Oh, I hate that. Um, but what I was going to say is, if we can, instead of coming down hard on the gun owners, and if we have good registration, and like I said, this is my opinion. I think all this is good. I mean, look how many people are illegally voting in the United States because we don't have good voter registration. Now these people say, "Oh, well, you're targeting certain people." No, I'm not targeting anybody. If you're not eligible to vote, you shouldn't vote, and that's a thing right now that's happening. So voter registration, gun registration, and all these, I think, are a good thing if it's done properly. And you know, don't be over here saying, "Well, I'm gonna you have to register these guns," and then NRA says, "Oh no, we don't want all this restrictive registration." Well, I'd like to have voter registration. Make it the same. Heck, if you register a gun, you better be registered to vote. Make it one and the same almost. It's crazy. Well, yeah, it's as it stands right now. You know, everybody should vote, and you got to vote your conscience and everything. And I, it bothers me that some of this is going to get skewed. These shootings of the last 2 days that have happened are going to skew a lot of opinion and skew a lot of voters to vote against their conscience. Well, everything's got to be done in moderation. I mean, we've got we got the communist left right now, which is driving 99% of the people crazy. I mean, and I think I've told most of you guys, I am a registered Democrat, have been all my life. And the reason I did it was because in North Carolina, when I was young, the Republican Party was so weak that you basically, if you didn't vote as a Democrat, you didn't have a choice between the people in the primary because the Republican, whoever it was unopposed usually, and it was just one person. And then when you went to the general election, then you could vote. If you like that Republican guy better, hey, you can vote for him. And that happened a lot of times. I mean, even one of our strong Republican congressmen, Jim Broyhill, in this area. I mean, I voted for him a number of times. He was a Republican, and but my registration has no bearing on how I vote. I mean, I want to tell you that straight up because I'm a registered Democrat has no bearing whatsoever on how I vote. I have never, ever voted for the party. The only reason I am a registered Democrat is because I feel like that's was the alignment that I needed early on when I was, coming up. Uh, it as it stands right now, I probably have more tendencies toward the Republican Party because I'm a more of a conservative guy. I'm not a left leaning guy. I'm not a right leaning guy. I don't want either extreme. I'm a centrist, you might say. I want to be common sense is what I want to be, and I cannot see the common sense on the left side right now. And exactly because I'm a businessman, I see the good things that Donald Trump and see people have given me a hard time over the years. I mean, I didn't hate Obama. I hated some of the things he did. I didn't hate George Bush. I hated some of the things he did. I didn't hate Bill Clinton. You know, he did a lot of things, and but he did some good things too. Bill Clinton, he balanced the budget. We hadn't had that. I mean, those of you that don't remember that, he did actually balance the budget. And last time the budget's been balanced in 40 years, 30 or 40 years. So there, I mean, I go all the way back to, when I was young, I remember President Kennedy. Most of you probably don't remember President Kennedy. And, and I remember the day he was shot. I mean, I was about, I want to say I was seventh grade, I think, 1963. I think I was in seventh grade. And I was old enough to understand a limited amount of what was going on in politics and everything back then. But, all I knew primarily was my dad liked this guy, and, you know, this is who he would have voted for. And, and I didn't understand why until I got a little bit older. And that's what you get sometimes with young people. And that's one of the things they talk about, uh, having high school students vote. And I think that's ridiculous because you have not even had a good base of information to make a sound. I mean, even at, I mean, the voting age was 21 when I was young. I wasn't able to vote until I was 21 and they lowered it to 18 right after I turned 21, basically. And, uh, so it's something that I think, you have to, I know, I can't believe it either. Well, hey, Brent in Florida, I hope you're doing well. Yeah, we'll just jump right in here and discuss a few things with us. We're we're discussing the unfortunately the shootings out in Texas and now Ohio, Dayton, Ohio. They showed where there was a mass shooting in Dayton, Ohio last night. I think it has. I don't know if it's club related or social related. I mean, that one I'm a little bit confused about. But they killed they killed the shooter in that one, whereas the other one he's trying to make a statement, and he's want to be a martyr of some sort. He wants to be famous, and that is so bizarre that people want to be famous, and and how they are famous is by killing people. Uh, I mean, it's tough. And my wife and I we were talking last night, and this is just my opinion. Some people are going to hate me for my opinion on this, but I think we have made killing so easy for young children because of video games, and they can play shooter games on video games, and to them, I mean, it shows the blood and the gore. Now, I mean, I've seen some of them. I've seen some of these games, and you're out there, and it looks so realistic that the mindset, I think, for some of these people, and I would venture to say that probably some of them have played these games in mom's basement somewhere, that that they're socially inept, they're socially and mentally deficient on their thinking, and that's how some of this happens. I do believe, and that's just my opinion. And anytime, I don't know if you're like me, guys. The first time I used a gun and killed an animal, it affected me as far as I don't like killing things. I don't like actually killing animals either. And I mean, there's a need for it. I mean, I've killed muskrats. I kill the other day. I had to kill a raccoon. We feel like it might have been rabid, and it was you know I didn't want my dogs getting bit by the raccoon and having to go through all that. So yeah, I'm kind of leery of raccoons because they do carry a lot of disease. So I killed a raccoon the other day, but I still, even though I killed that raccoon, I don't like the fact that I'm actually killing a living being. And I don't know. That's just me. That's why I'm not a hunter. I don't feel the need to get out and hunt things. Now, guys that do it, and they love it, and so be it. I mean, that's fine. But I'm just not. Maybe I don't know what it is in me. I just can't fathom the thought of killing another being. And I had to kill a mouse this morning, and it really, really, you look at all creatures out there, and you go, well, I hate to have to do that too, but you're a pest. You're a pest, and you're something I don't want to keep around. And we're in that type. I guess it takes that mentality. Either you know, and I guess it can be tilted one way or the other. Some people have no reservations about it, and it scares me that some people can do it so handedly. Yeah. Well, and that's it. I mean, I don't like to see an animal destroyed. Just and trust me, I've done my fair share. I mean, I've killed a many a deer with a car or a truck. Uh, even poor old possums, or in your case out west, armadillo or possums on the half shell. uh, yeah, you hate to see an animal lose its life. I do, just randomly. So I mean, but there is a situation that we have to, because of the way we're living nowadays. Uh, you there's conservation, and I'm a true believer of conservation, because if we don't do certain things, I mean, it's just like your pond. Your pond, if you have a pond, it needs to be fished, because if you don't, you'll overpopulate the pond, and they say you'll get more diseased fish in there. You need to fish it out and clean up the pond. The same thing goes with, like I was talking about deer earlier. I think if you let the deer overpopulate and everything, they say it. I mean, the same thing, that you can get diseased deer, and just a lot of different things can happen within the deer population if it gets too large, if the herds get too large. And so conservation is a good thing, but I don't want to have to be the one doing it. That's just my own personal opinion. And so, yeah, yeah, and that's true. And that's what, I don't know if you were in here a while ago, Chris, but and we were talking about the wild boar, and the wild boar are rampant in certain areas out Midwest, and the South, and a few places, even Northeast, I think too, a little bit, where they have these large farms, and they'll get out there and they'll destroy crops. I mean, they can, a herd of wild boar can get out and destroy somebody's soybeans, or I don't know what else they were talking about they like, but soybeans I think was one of them, and some of these other crops, and they can just root them up, and they go through them, just tearing a huge path through some of these and destroying a lot of crops. Yeah, yep, yeah. Ponds, you've got to keep a pond. You got to move it around a little bit. If you don't, like I said, and especially if it's one of these, what they call dry ponds, I guess, where it's mainly coming off rainwater. I think that, because of the fact that it's more stagnant. If it's fresh water, like I have two creeks feeding my pond. I got about a 4 acre pond, and we're selective on who we let fish, and we got some pretty good fish in it too. But you've got to be able to conserve some things, and like I said, fish it out. And I tell all the people that fish mine, don't throw any fish back, because once you throw one back, they say that the fish can actually develop a fungus on, or something, from the hook, and you can actually be throwing a sick, you know, you damaged that fish in some way, and you're actually throwing a fish that could hurt your population a little bit. That's what I've been told. I'm not a horticulturalist. I'm I just pretend to be, because I own a farm. Or on a pond. Yeah, Well, that's like I said, it's you hear all these different tales of what people say about things, and I'm really not. I'm not a horticulturalist. I'm not a botanist. I'm not somebody. I my limitation to my farming and everything was I was raised on a farm. I did what Dad told me to do on the farm, and I didn't have a love for the farm, so I'm not a farmer. But I do have. I like the farm life. I like a lot of stuff, but I didn't pursue that as a occupation as I got older. And anyway, hey JC, yeah, I kill muskrats, and I've got a shotgun for that. I got a shotgun with a night scope on it. Now that's how serious I am on my muskrats. And yeah, I groundhogs and muskrats. I try to eliminate. And actually, it's sort of ironic we're talking about that. As I was going out to come over here this morning, there was a huge groundhog setting up on his haunches, rear haunches, and he was just sitting around gazing around behind my trucks. Now I do like to get rid of them up there because I've had them to eat wires. If they had a low hanging wire or something, they'll chew on anything. They're a rodent. They're a rodent, and it's tough. Your wife never misses a shot, so she's Annie Oakley, huh? Yeah, I bet Brenda can. I bet Brenda can lay one out there. I bet so. She's a hard worker and everything. You got you a good one there. Brenda being JC's wife. They came down about 6 months ago down here and picked up a truck and picked up a trailer and a truck. Do you still have that trailer, JC? I didn't ask you if you still. I know you said you sold the Freightliner, and yeah, good gracious. So she's doing good. Is she doing? She's doing it with a shotgun, or is she doing it with a? Or is she doing it with a rifle? If she's doing it with a rifle, she's doing real good. Of course, a lot of I think bird shot. You use shotgun. I know. That's what I use. I'm a shotgun for me is good. I mean, that's what I took that raccoon out with the other day was a shotgun. I don't. I'm not a. I think my rifle's a 22. That's about how powerful it is. I don't even have much of a rifle. Oh God, if she can do it with a 22, then she is spot on. Because a 22, I don't know how much velocity a 22 has. I mean, it's. Of course, I guess if you're doing a bird, you'd want to do it with a 22 if you're trying to save the bird in any way, because you'd want to have the smallest shot. But I know it's that's the way it goes. Well, JC, you look like you've been busy the past few days trying to sell and buying some trucks and everything, and getting that bed off of that. I would have liked to have that beverage body you took off. That I hate to see you taking that to scrap. I wouldn't mind having one of those for storage myself if it wasn't so far away. I've got a friend that's got a couple of those kind of trucks, but he's just still got them on. He's got them on some cab over Volvos. That's those small Volvos. Trying to think what the name of that Volvo is, but he has a couple of those old Pepsi Cola trucks, and they got that same frame where that's dropped down and center frames where everything is. Oh, you got it. It's all aluminum. Yeah. Wow. If it's all aluminum, yeah, then you can get a pretty decent price out of that, then couldn't you? I guess. I don't know what aluminum's selling for right now. Yeah. Now the thing about I don't know, scrap yards are funky. Hmm. Yeah, that scrap yards can be funky. They can they'll yeah, that's about what I've run into before too, like what Chris is talking about. I've taken some aluminum product that I knew was 99.9% aluminum, and they say, oh well, it's like I said, it's dirty. It's got a little bit of steel in it. Well, they can separate it, but I mean they don't want to. So scrap is down in Oklahoma. I don't even know what it is around here. I haven't taken any. I know I've got a ton of. I've got one trailer completely. My scrap trailer is full. I have one that the scrap metal place actually drops off at my place, and we got it completely full right now. Yeah, I know that's a problem. They'll give you a better price if you'll separate it out the way they want it. But yeah, then you got so much darn labor in it that why do it? I mean, yeah, I would say it's way better. It's way better to be able to just take it there on a flatbed, let them get their track hoe and set it off and be done with it and get paid for it. Because if you take the time to clean it up, as they may say, then you've got so much labor involved. It's not worth it. I don't want to do those things either. I mean, I have I had a guy picking up pallets the other day, and I sold him the pallets cheap because I wanted rid of the pallets because by the time I took the labor and everything to get the pallets out of here, I would have wasted more money. Yeah, that's what I've got. See, I've got a 40 yard. I mean, I got is it 40 yard? I can't remember. It may be that uh, it's about 40 foot. It's about a 40 foot trailer I have parked right beside my shop. One of my shops. Actually, have I got two? No, the other one's just dump. I got two dumpsters. I got two dump for trash, and then I have one for just scrap metal because we go through a lot of scrap metal. And of course, sometimes what I've done is to get what they call, like what y'all are talking about, is pick up the cleaner scrap metal and then take it down in my dump trailer and sell it off like that and come out ahead. And then because the one scrap metal place is not but probably 10 miles from here, 10 15 miles. Well, now when it comes to my recaps, now I don't use recaps, so I sell mine back to Goodyear, and Goodyear pays me $65 a tire for my good virgin rubber, wore out virgin rubber. And then I've got a friend that owns a dump truck business, and I'll sell him some that may be questionable, but he can use them for a while. The DOT stamp on those, like JC's talking about, they look at the age of the tire. If the tire's too old, the recappers won't take it. I think I think they don't want it past my. I think my supplier. I think they don't want them any more than 4 years old, maybe five. I don't know, but if it gets more than 5 years old, and they look at the stamp on the DOT stamp on the tire when it was manufactured, they won't take it. Well, like I said, they'll take mine anytime. I can give them 10 tires. With my situation, Goodyear delivers, and they're delivering some tomorrow. Actually, I ordered about 20 tires they'll be delivering them tomorrow, and then they'll turn around and pick them up, and they do me a pretty good job. We get national accounts. I've got through FedEx, I'm able to get a national account and get a decent price buying the tires, and then they turn around and they'll pay me, give me a credit on my core tire cores. And so I'm happy with that. I get a good bit of credit back just on tires. Are those tires old tires, Chris, or just? Uh, I mean, well, of course, they know me personally, and I buy from them, so I'm usually giving them Goodyear cores back. Uh, so I'm in good shape. Now, if it's just willy nilly, I mean, and they'll look at each one. I've had some that I've bought trucks and the tires are pretty old, and I pulled them off and put good tires on it. And I've had some rejected by them, but I've got another guy, an older guy that comes by, and he'll get my can't get nothing out of it core type stuff, and I'll get $10, $15 a tire out of those. I'll say I get 65 for my casings. That's a running price that I get is $65 a tire casing on mine. I don't on 11R 22.5s. That's what I get. I get $65 down here, but I'm giving them a real good casing. It's not a bad casing at all. So I'm able to do fairly good with that. I mean, it's nothing for me to get $1,000 credit. Turning in casings. I think I looked at one the other day. It was $880 I got back and well, hey, Speedy 53, that's my grandson. Hey, how are you doing, Michael? What are you doing? You better be getting ready for church. Yeah. Speedy 53 is his number he's had in soccer for years. I saw that just then. So, hey, Michael, I hope you're feeling good today. He's trying out for the high school soccer team. He's done pretty good. He's got back past the first wave of cuts. He's a freshman, so he's got to really work hard. And uh, yeah, he's actually named Michael too. Yeah, yeah. My grandson or Speedy 53 there. And like I said, I had to think about it for a second. Yeah, he's a good boy. He makes good grades in school, and want him to carry it on through high school and everything. I'm proud of him. He makes me smile every time I think about him. JC, we'll see you. You get back to work. Tell Brenda I said hey. And then, guys, I'm about ready to get out of here myself. I've been on this thing about 54 minutes, so I'm going to get out of here too. Y'all take care, and we'll jump in here next week and chit chat some more. All right, we'll see you.